Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we are covering a very hot topic right now in cybersecurity in general, and I'm this is going to be more of a rant video, so it's going to be long, and I'm going to discuss my opinions on the hiring market right now in cybersecurity and why you're not getting these jobs, why you're applying for 500 jobs and getting no callbacks, those type of things. So I'm going to talk about them. We're going to discuss them, and then if you guys have questions, put them in the comments, hop in the Discord, like and subscribe. We will talk about it more. I have a feeling this is going to be an ongoing conversation with the community, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions in my opinion and a lot of incorrect theories in my opinion. I keep hearing some people say that like the AI is taking these jobs and stuff. That's just not reality. So let's go ahead and hop into it and talk about it. Okay, so first things first. This is just I just went on Indeed.com. I didn't log in or anything, so there's no like it's not looking for mine. I just put cybersecurity job, entry level job, right? So there's a couple of things to understand when looking for a job in cybersecurity. Number one, this is the biggest thing I see. Cybersecurity is not an entry level position. Okay, it makes no sense to be an entry level position. It should not be an entry level position. If you're hiring a cybersecurity person or if a cybersecurity company is hiring someone as an entry level, that does not mean they should just now be getting into IT. I see this all the time. Oh, I just graduated college. I have a cybersecurity degree. I can't find a job. That's because cybersecurity should never be your first job or your change of career job. It should never be that step. Why? Because it's a huge risk as a company. Okay. If companies are hiring a person with no experience, it's because that company's either A, a startup, B, can't afford to hire someone with experience, or C, they don't know what they're doing. Okay. Now, I know this is not what you want to hear. This is the hard truth. Okay. Cyber should not be your first job in IT. Shouldn't. Never. Why? Again, it's a huge risk. Okay, if I own a company and I say, "Oh, you've got a degree? Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the degree. Let's hire you, get you controlling my cybersecurity," right? If something happens, you don't have the experience to back it up. Okay? What I mean by that is ask any college graduate, ask any college student, ask anybody that's worked in this industry for a while. College and certs are not the same as going out and having real world experience. So what happens is a lot of times I see this is people get this education and you need an education. I'm not saying don't go to college. You need to learn. Okay? You need these certs to learn. So go do this. You know, when you go get that education, when you get that knowledge, when you get the cert, whatever it is that you're going for, right? Take that, and when you go to a job, go do real world experience and tell me what happens when it doesn't go exactly as you thought. So, for instance, you take a course on TryHackMe or whatever cert course, Red Team Path, whatever you want to do. Okay. And then you run that exact same scenario in a work environment and it fails. What do? You don't know because you've never worked on it. You don't know, right? That's the difference. When you hire someone that is in true entry level, meaning they have no experience as in cybersecurity, you're opening up that risk. You're saying there's going to be the only thing you know is what someone taught you in a book. You don't have any experience. So when things don't go exactly as that book said, you don't know what to do. Okay? And that's why it's a risk because that's not how cybersecurity works. Cybersecurity works in you have to have a background in troubleshooting and understanding how infrastructures work. Because one thing you see all the time, in especially in college, I don't know why, they don't teach true domain controller infrastructures. They don't. Some might. I mean, if you go to college and they're teaching you true AD and all that, hey, great on them. But 99% of what I see coming out of college when I hire interns and stuff like that is I'm seeing a lot of them not seeing the big picture. They're like, well, I have a cybersecurity degree. I know a little bit of Python. I know what a EDR is. I know what a SIEM is. Like, I know what these tools do, but I have no idea how, if I started right here on a domain controller and looked out at everything, I have no idea how it all works, right? How does it all talk to each other? What is it doing? How does this reach out? What is this protocol? What is this? They don't know that stuff. And that is where you're opening up the risk, because there's going to be a lot missed in those first few years while they're learning. So that's one reason, the big reason I'm seeing a lot of this. Hey, I just got out of school. I just got my Security Plus. I just got this. I just did this, whatever. And you're not getting those callbacks because there's an expectation. So that's why I have this pulled up, right? This is IT security specialist entry level. And look at what it, well, this is a nice to have, but 5 years experience, okay? That's what they want. They want 5 years experience. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, that's not entry level. It is entry level. It's entry level into cybersecurity, okay? That's just how it works. It'd be like being, this is a bad analogy because it's not the same, but this is an analogy that'll make sense. So it would be like being, let's say that the path, I know nursing and doctors and stuff like that they're not the same path. I'm just saying, let's say you wanted to be a doctor and they're like, okay, well, you got to be a tech, then you got to be a nurse, then you got to be whatever. And you being like, nope, I'm going straight to doctor, right? That would be what it's like. It's the same as, for instance, a doctor. Even when they graduate med school, they're not just go straight to the office and start being a doctor. They have to do years of on-prem or on-site training. They have to do years of working closely with other doctors and learning, right? That's experience they have to get, and they're getting paid way less than what a regular doctor does during that time. They're still making a lot of money, but that's my point. So that's the first thing, okay? First thing. Don't ever expect it to be entry level. If you're getting a job offer, this is another again, this is going to be kind of a ranty video, but it's because I want you guys to understand why this market is looking the way it is right now. So the other thing to keep in mind is if you are getting that job offer and that job offer seems to be like, okay, I'm getting a great job offer. This company doesn't need me to have any experience, understand that is also a small risk on your part, because there are a couple of situations that can occur. Number one, I've seen this actually. I just saw this the other day. One company offered to hire this guy, and they're like, hey, we'll hire you, but we have to do 2 months unpaid training, right? That's not a good deal for anyone being like, hey, I want to get into cybersecurity. I'm getting this offer. Let's do this, right? It's not a good deal because you're getting screwed. You're working for 2 months for free. They're training you, but all they're doing is getting 2 months of work for free, and they may keep you after. They may just fire you, right? So understand that there's certain offers when you're starting out that can be sketchy, number one. For two, the other thing that's alarming with some of these offers is a lot of people will come to me and say, hey, you said that it takes years to do this. I got a pen test job offer, and I've only been doing this for 6 months. Well, let me talk to you in 10 years. And the reason I say that is because when you work for certain companies in cyber is a small industry. Certain companies' reputations follow them, okay? So if, for instance, if you're a pen tester, if I'm hiring another pen tester for my company, guess what? I'm going to go look at the company you worked for. And there are companies that have bad reputations. They do bad pen tests. They they go outside their scope. They get into legal trouble. They fail. One thing I see a lot is people go work for startups, and when the startup fails, now you're out of work. Well, now you have these resumes with, and this is something I see all the time when hiring. You see resumes with 5, different jobs in the last year. That's a red flag. I'm not going to hire that person. Why? You're jumping around, whether it's because the company failed, whether it's because you didn't do something right, whether the company screwed you, whatever. It doesn't look good, okay? So keep that stuff in mind when you're looking at these. That entry level means IT or cyber entry level, not entry level into IT, okay? So make sure you understand that and have the expectation going into it that this is not something you're going to do overnight. This is a tough career. It is not easy. Successful people in this career are few for a reason, okay? So now, let's talk about the next part, the market, right? So there has been this, and we'll kind of talk about certs too, but there has been this, right? CompTIA, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, right? This is kind of what everyone says their path is, right? Like, hey, get Security Plus, go get some Python knowledge, learn this, get this little cert, blah, blah, and boom, you've got a job, right? You'll see this all over. I see it on Twitter. I see it on, blogs. I see it everywhere I go. People have this roadmap for you, right? This is the roadmap. You'll get a job in 6 months. You'll get a job in 9 months. You'll get a job in a year, whatever. Boom, guaranteed job, right? Here's the problem. Literally every single person trying to get into cybersecurity saw that same roadmap, okay? 5 years ago, that roadmap works, okay? It does. 5 years ago, oh, wow, you've got 3 or 4 certs in a year experience. You're pretty up there, right? It's not like that anymore. Why is it not like that? Because every single person trying to get into cyber followed the same roadmap and now has the same certs. So now when I go to interview people, right? When I'm hiring more people for my team, I look at their resume and if I see that they have Security Plus, I go, okay, let's move them on to, the part where we actually have all the people with Security Plus. Then I look at those resumes, right? And the reason I do that is because Security Plus and those certs, they aren't standout anymore. They are now a formality. And because so many people have them across the industry, that to me, if you have Security Plus, that doesn't put you up here unless the other guy doesn't have it, right? But so many people have them, it just puts you past HR is all it does, right? So it's a good cert to have, but understand it's a formality, not a given that you get a job because you have some of these certs. Especially with the uptick in these certs being given, it's a lot of brain dumping, and a lot of companies are starting to realize that. They're starting to understand that, okay, so yes, you have this cert, but in reality, what you're doing is you went and studied it real fast and ditched it, okay? So what I look for when someone says, hey, I have Security Plus, I have Pen Test Plus, I have whatever, some of these mid or low to mid-tier certs, what I look for is, okay, how many years experience do you have with it? And the reason I say that, if you have two years experience and Security Plus, the math would check out. I'd go, okay, probably got 2 years experience, went for a Security Plus to validate his skill set, and he knows what he's talking about, okay? But if you came to me and said, I have 6 months experience working as an intern and I have Security Plus, so I know security, I'm gonna just laugh it off because it makes no sense. Security Plus should not be a cert that someone with 6 months experience has. And when I mean that, I'm not saying don't go get it, because I think you should. What I'm saying is it doesn't equate. Security Plus, you shouldn't be going and studying the book as hard as you can, taking the test and going, boom, got it, and moving on. Security Plus should be something that you understand generally. You should, theoretically, you should have enough knowledge and experience to go take Security Plus without studying and pass. You should study to re-up kind of some of the soft skills that you might have missed, but you should be able to pass it. That tells me you have the knowledge, okay? So I'm not saying don't go get the cert. Go get it. I'm just saying you need to stand out from these outliers. So what I mean by that is everybody's followed this roadmap. So you're going to have to follow the roadmap. You have to get the certs to get your foot in that door. But how do you separate yourself? There's so many ways in today's society that you can stand out, and so many people fail to do that. So there's a couple of ways. Number one, a good resume. We're going to talk about resumes here in a second. A good resume. Number two, what are you doing outside of your IT job, your college, right? So I had a kid talk to me recently and ask for some help. And he said, hey, I've got my degree. I did a small internship, and we're doing this big project at school for the capstone, right? And he said, so I'm doing this capstone, and he's like, but I can't get any job offers. I can't get anyone to give me an interview. He said, but so what am I doing wrong? I said, well, you need to distinguish yourself. He said, oh, I've already done that. Look, I'm doing this capstone project, and it's a really cool project, and da-da-da, so that separates me. And I said, is that a solo capstone project, or is that your group? He said, it's my group. And I said, okay, so his entire class was doing this capstone project, right? So let's say that's 50 people. I don't know how many in his class. So that's 50 people right there that have the exact same resume as you. The exact same. And you're all in the same area. So you're going to start applying for jobs, and 50 of you have turn in the same project, the same skill set, the same knowledge. Now imagine that on a wide scale, because that's what's happening. These colleges are teaching you. Everyone's got the same thing. So how do you differentiate? What are you doing on your own? This is not an easy career. This is not a career you're going to walk into and just be successful just because. You work your ass off, okay? And you need to work your ass off, and you should work your ass off, because the benefits of this career are insane if you let them be, okay? So what I mean by that is, after work, what do you do? Do you go watch TV? Do you go drink with your buddies? I don't care if you do. That's fine. If success to you is a junior analyst, whatever, great. Do that. I'm not hating on that. I have no problem with that. That is awesome. Get that success and be happy, right? But if you're trying to get into this career and you're having trouble, look at yourself a little bit. And I know that's hard to say, and that's hard to, because I know a lot of you are watching this going, no, he doesn't get it. I bust my ass. I do this. I'm telling you, humble yourself a little bit. That's one thing I see a lot in here, or in this industry, is people won't take that step aside and say, okay, maybe I could work harder. Maybe I could do this, right? So what I mean by that is, after work, okay, hop on, start working on a project that you can publish, okay? So whether that's on GitHub, start making tools that you can publish on GitHub. Start making, for instance, a YouTube channel that I have. This is I have years of videos. That's a resume if someone wants to see what skill sets I have, right? Now, keep in mind, when you're doing a YouTube channel too, with it being so public, if you're not good, it's going to show as well. So make a forum, a blog that you have, right? Now you have a skill set, write-ups of all the things you've done, skill set that you can show, okay? Go to companies. This is how I started out. If you guys ever watch my channel, you know, I used to go to companies and I would ask them, can I do a vulnerability assessment for you for free? And then you just give me a letter of recommendation. So when I go to a company, I would have a stack of letter of recommendations from companies, and I'd say, hey, look, I've done all these. I'd say, hey, look, I've done all these. Here's my letters of recommendation. I've done them. These companies liked what I did. You should too. You can do so many things right now in today's society. You can create I don't support TikTok, but go on TikTok and make little shorts of different skill sets that you can do. I mean, you can do so many things to build up a platform to show your skill set that separates you. Volunteer. I volunteer and teach high school kids cybersecurity, right? Do volunteer work. That's more things that are going to distinguish you. You have to work outside of what everyone else is doing. If everyone else is working 10-hour days, you should be working 12. If everyone else is working 12, you should be working 14. And I know that's not what you want to hear, because I know in today's society, hard work is very far gone. It's few and far between. But the reality is, if you want, I know you're watching these TikTokers, these cybersecurity YouTubers, these bloggers, whatever, and you're saying, wow, they make all kinds of money. They talk about making $400,000. They make, this, that, and the other. It's true. Yeah, this career can do that. This career is that great. But you don't see all the hard work they put into it, right? The Cyber Mentor, he's a good one, very popular one. Network Chuck, he's another popular one. You think these guys just walked up one day and was like, you know what, I'm just going to start publishing YouTube videos and boom? No, they worked their ass off for it. Why do you think my YouTube channel is not blown up? It's because I don't have the time to put the work into it that's needed like they do. And I'm not saying they don't work as hard as me, because they do. They probably outwork me. But the reality is, YouTube is more important to them, okay? It's part of their career. Whereas myself, I focus on other areas of my career, and I try to help people by giving them knowledge on YouTube and my Discord and things like that. So separate yourself. You have to do something different. Think outside the box. If you don't think outside the box, someone else will, and you will get beaten on that, okay? So now, another one I see all the time, interviews. Okay, so first let's go with resume first. Okay, so when you're doing cyber is a different type of resume. Okay, and when I say that, what I mean is some of these are good, some of them are okay, and then some of them are bad. Okay, so like this one here, I clicked on this one specifically to show you guys something. Cybersecurity resumes are different in the sense that it's not a typical resume where you go, okay, here's my past work experience. So like, let's click on this one. You can see he has professional experience and he just has boom, what he did, what he did, what he did. That's a terrible resume for cybersecurity. I'll tell you right now, I would open this resume and I'd go, okay, cool, next. Because I don't care what you did in your last jobs. I just don't. I'm going to be honest with you, especially in IT. And what I mean by that is in IT, you may get hired to be an analyst, right? And you're basically doing an engineer's job. And it's just the way IT works. They hire these positions with titles and then they put you where they need you. And that's okay. That's a good thing to learn different skill sets. But my point is, I don't care what your last job, yeah, I want to see what the title is, whatever, but I don't care that you did this, okay? I want to see, what are you good at? What is your skills, okay? So this is something I recommend everyone do. Maybe not this format, doesn't really matter, but see how he has his skills here and he has them in levels of proficiency. Now, he's got everything all the way up except for English and Spanish, but see how he has his proficiency there? One thing I'm going to say is, there's a couple things that I see here's another one with it. There's not 100%. So one thing I'm going to say is make sure you have your skill sets in there with proficiencies so that people understand the expectation. What I mean by that is I see all the time, I'll interview someone, they have AWS in their resume, right? So you didn't tell me where you're at in AWS, right? You didn't tell me. You just said AWS. AWS can take 10 years to learn. So I have no idea where you're at. So guess what? In the interview, I have to ask very low level questions, medium level questions, and then advanced level questions, all on AWS. Guess what doesn't look good? When you say you know AWS, and when I start asking questions and you don't know them. And why don't you know them? Because you're probably just not very proficient in that skill set. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know that, so I have to ask the question. So now you look bad because you don't know questions, right? You don't know answers. So put your proficiency so that people in the interview can ask the correct questions so they can tailor that interview to what your resume states versus, okay, well, this person has Python in here. I'm going to ask advanced level Python questions because I need to know, are they advanced in Python or are they entry level, right? So those are the questions that can really make you look bad because it looks like you're lying, right? If I go ask you that one, I saw the guy had Citrix. So if I ask you intrusion detection right here, he's got that pretty high up. If I ask you a question in intrusion detection, it's a very low level question and you don't know it. And you're like, well, I don't really know it, but that's only because I just learned intrusion detection and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. But now you look like a liar because on your resume, it says you are proficient in intrusion detection because you put intrusion detection on there. That's fine to put it on there, but put in there very minimally how proficient you are. So that way people know, okay, this guy's seen it, not familiar with it. He's seen it. So we're not going to ask him any questions on it. We understand that he knows what it is, but he's not very good on it yet. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Make sure you make that stand out and know. Now, one thing with the resumes too that I see all the time is, so this is a good resume right here. See how he's got his experience? Okay. So when I say good resume, he's got this here. I personally would rather have you list out more proficiencies than just these skills here. And just have a little blurb about where you've worked in the past. That would be me. But again, this is a good resume. I would like to see something like this where I can visually separate you from the others and say, okay, so he's good in this, and this, boom, next, right? The other thing that people don't talk about in this industry is the security clearance. A security clearance can get you jobs that other places can't, okay? The DoD security clearance is extremely sought after, and that's why a lot of military members get positions that others probably are more qualified for. And I, being a military member, I understand this. You can get a security clearance, okay? You don't have to be in the military to get a security clearance, so take that with what you will, but it opens the doors to work on federal buildings, bases, things like that. So it's really a good thing to have, but it is harder to get if you're a civilian, so keep that in mind. But one thing I see a lot with the resumes, okay, tailor the resume to the job. I see this all the time where I get these very generic resumes, and it's like, okay, cool. So you put zero effort into this for our position. So because you're probably applying for 500 positions, right? Well, if you're not that serious about us, why would we be that serious about you? And I know it sounds silly. It sounds like that's nitpicking, but I promise you it makes a difference. So like, let's just click on this one here. See how they have job summary, network cyber mitigations engineer, system vulnerability analyst. Okay, so that right there, they're already system vulnerability analysts, right? So start putting in your resume some of the vulnerability analytics that you've done, right? Analysis jobs that you've worked on, those type of things, so that it tailors and reads as if someone that's in HR or wherever is reading the job description and going, boom, looking at the resume, wow, this guy's perfect for this, right? That's the type of stuff you want to do to get your foot into the door, to get that initial interview. Now, in the interview, you just got to practice interviews if you're not good at them, okay? I've seen a lot of guys that just aren't good at interviews, especially nowadays with it being Zoom. There's a couple of tips that I'll give you that should be self-explanatory, but I've interviewed enough people that I'm like, I can't believe this isn't self-explanatory. Have your camera on, okay? I never thought this would be a real issue, but when I'm remotely interviewing someone, I've seen so many people go in and say, okay, let's start the interview, whatever. And I'm like, your camera's not on. Like, why would you never turn your camera on? My camera's on. You can see me. Why would you not turn yours on? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to interview someone that I'm not looking face to face with, right? That's just weird. I don't like it. So turn your camera on. Dress appropriately, okay? So that's obvious, you'd think, but you see it all the time. People wear whatever to an interview. Dress professionally, dress professionally. That's all it is. You don't have to necessarily wear a suit and tie, but dress professionally. The other thing is appearance matters. I know a lot of people will say like, well, it shouldn't matter if I'm obese and da da da. You're right, it doesn't. But if you come in looking like a slob, it does. Okay. So what I mean by that is someone that's clean cut, and I don't mean clean cut as in clean shaven. I mean clean cut. They have it trimmed. They look good. They have a haircut. They look presentable. Those are they're clean, like their shirt isn't all wrinkled. Like these are the things that separate you, because someone looks at that and goes, okay, that's professional, versus somebody that comes in, they're all slouched back. Their mannerisms are kind of blah, and they're haven't had a haircut in months. Like that's the crap you want to clean up. Okay. I see these things all the time, and it sounds silly, but it's true. And people do this. Okay. So with that said, what is the big issue here with the industry? All these people, all these companies laid a bunch of people off, right? During the recession, a bunch of people did. So now all these IT folk are sitting here, no positions, and then so that's all these people, and then you have all these college kids trying to get, or entry-level cybersecurity people that are trying to get their foot in the door. All these people took a lot of the jobs, right? That doesn't mean there's not jobs out there. There's millions of jobs out there. The problem is the field now has a lot more experienced people in it. So you have to separate yourself. That's just reality. Now, there's a couple of things I keep seeing. The incorrect skills are being learned nowadays. What I mean by that, and I've talked about it a little bit in the past, or a little bit earlier in the video, is just because you went and learned, hey, I got an AWS cert. Okay, cool. So you have a certification in AWS and you're good at AWS, but you have no understanding about how an infrastructure works. That doesn't help me, because I don't have time to teach you years of experience that you should be having. That's where people mess up. They do like try hack me paths. I've seen guys that say, hey man, I finished all these try hack me paths. I finished LinkedIn Learning. I finished all this, da da da. Okay, cool. I guarantee you, I can ask you one or two questions that will baffle you, that are basic questions that others would know. Why? Because you don't have any real world experience. Now, you don't have to go on here and you don't have to go get a job to get real world experience. I've listed ways that you could do it previously. Volunteering, going job shadowing people, going and asking people to do vulnerability assessments. Build your own lab at home, a real lab, not, oh, I built a VM. No, a real lab. Build a lab. Go to your local areas, libraries, things like that, and ask for, hey, can I help you guys with your IT? Because I know you're probably not very staffed. They probably don't have money. Volunteer, do things outside the norm. That is what you have to do. The last thing I'm going to talk about, guys, is there are no shortcuts in this. There's no shortcuts. I don't care. Everybody comes to me and says, well, I've got this. Well, I did this. Well, I did this. There's no shortcut. There's no sprint. This isn't a job where you go, again, with the doctor analogy, it'd be like me being like, got 2 years down, but I know this stuff, so I'm going straight to doctor. They're not going to let me in. They're never going to let me be a doctor with 2 years of college. It's just not going to happen, right? This is the same thing. You're not going to get these high-tier jobs just because you say or because you want them. Sometimes you may even be qualified for them. But guess what? Someone was more qualified. Someone did better in the interview. You have to practice interviews. You have to. And I'll tell you this, when I used to look for jobs a lot, I would interview for jobs every day. And I'd interview for jobs I don't even want. Why? I need practice. Yeah, it might waste their time. Yeah, but guess what? I was being selfish in that. And sometimes that's okay. I was being selfish. I would interview for jobs left and right. Who knows? Maybe that company likes me and goes, I'll offer you $1 million. Would it happen? Probably not. But either way, I needed the practice anyway. So why not? Right? So practice interviews. One thing, and I'm not selling my Patreon. I don't care if you guys subscribe to the Patreon. I've never even taken money off of Patreon. But if you go in my Patreon and you do subscribe, message me because you do get free mock interviews from me. So that is something I offer. So make sure you look for resources like that where you can do mock interviews or real interviews and try to gain the knowledge and the experience and the mannerisms and the way that maybe you're doing something you don't even realize. Maybe you're sitting there and when you're answering questions, you're saying something that you think is like, okay, whatever, but to them, it's coming off really poorly. The other thing I see in interviews a lot is don't lie. Don't lie. Don't try and exaggerate. Don't try and stretch the truth in any facet because in IT, cyber, you're going to get called out for your BS. You may not get called out in the interview, but they'll just go, oh, this guy's a liar. What I mean by that is if you say, yeah, I have experience with this, and they ask you a question on it, and you don't want to sound like an idiot and not know it, don't make something up. If you start trying to paddle your way through the question, they're going to know right away, and they're going to say, okay, so the rest of what the guy said is bullcrap because he didn't tell the truth. So say, I don't know. I've never seen that. I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to figure that out currently. I'm not familiar with it. Whatever. Say something, but don't say, yeah, I know it, and then try and stumble through the question. Just don't. Okay? Hopefully this helps you guys. I know this was lecture-y, ranty, but I want you guys to have the real why jobs are so hard to find right now and why you're not separating yourself. It's got nothing to do with companies aren't hiring. It's got nothing to do with it's a lot of people don't truly understand what they're looking for when these jobs are posting. They think that it's entry level, so I deserve it. You don't deserve anything in this world. You have to go get it. So you want it, work harder. And I know that's not what you guys are going to want to hear, but that's the reality. And so all these people on Twitter and all that are giving you guys these like, oh, well, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. But they're just not being honest. They're saying, do this, and you're going to get it. That's not realistic. You may do everything perfectly right and still not get a job. That's okay. You still shouldn't quit. You should still outwork everybody. When I look for somebody to hire, I look and I say, okay, what's he doing? What are all the other candidates doing? Okay, he's doing more than all of them. That means he's going to work harder for me. Okay, that also means that he's passionate about this. I don't want somebody that's doing this for money. I want someone that truly enjoys it. And those are the people that I hire. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully you guys like this content. And if you do, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a great day.